Have you ever cleaned the bottom of your boat? Well, there's got to be a first time for everything. Hi, I'm Carolyn Sherlock, and on this episode of the Boat Galley Podcast, I'll help you avoid the mistakes I made the first time I cleaned the bottom. This episode of the Boat Galley Podcast is sponsored by Rain Man Water Makers and SeaTask. Rain Man Water Makers are capable of producing up to 37 gallons of fresh, clean drinking water per hour from seawater. Portable and installed models are available, all with off-the-shelf parts. Configurations are available in AC, 12-volt DC, and even a gasoline system, with new 2019 models being smaller, lighter, and quieter than ever. SeaTask is the premier U.S. facility for Rain Man Water Makers. Visit them at www.seataskgroup, that's SeaTaskGroup.com to learn more. Our first experience with cleaning the bottom of K-Tal, our Tayana 37, was pretty bad. Just a month after leaving the marina and beginning cruising, Dave and I did almost everything wrong, starting with not recognizing the signs of a seriously fouled prop, and ending with almost not getting back on board because our swim ladder was too short. In between, we exhausted ourselves and became shark bait from barnacle cuts. We learned a lot that day, the hard way. And we've discovered that cleaning the bottom isn't really so horrible once you know a few things. Let's talk about signs that the bottom needs cleaning. Seems simple, look at the water line and see if there's any growth. Unfortunately, it isn't always reliable. If you're in tropical waters, oftentimes there isn't much growth for the first 6 to 12 inches below the water. It's especially true if you've extended the bottom paint above the water line to form a boot stripe. Unless the water is exceptionally clear, you may not see growth on the prop from the dinghy or the dock, as the prop will maintain basically the same outline until the growth is severe. To really check, you have to put on a snorkel mask and look under the hull. And in tropical waters, we found that the bottom needs cleaning at least once a month, more often in the summer or in what we call nutritionally rich harbors or areas with agricultural runoff. The exact frequency will depend on your paint and your location. But if the growth is sufficiently bad, you'll start seeing operating problems. Your depth sounder can start to behave erratically. That's often the first symptoms, as you can't use bottom paint on most transducers, and thus the growth is usually the worst right there. You'll see slower speed than expected for the conditions. Your engine may run hotter than normal, and you'll have an inability to develop normal RPMs, even with full throttle. A lot of times that'll make you think that you have a problem with a clogged fuel filter, but it can also be a problem with the bottom. Now, before just jumping over the side, let's take a look at what you're going to need. You don't need scuba gear or a hookah, but free diving takes longer and is much more tiring. After cleaning the bottom twice with just snorkel gear, we bought a hookah and have never regretted it. You definitely need at least a mask so you can see what you're doing, and fins sure help, particularly if you're free diving. And if you are free diving, using a few dive weights, enough to make you less buoyant but not sinking, will make the job easier as you won't have to use so much of your energy and air just to stay under. You also won't be as likely to scrape your head and shoulders on the hull and accumulated barnacles. Now, we have hard anti-fouling paint, and our basic tools include a 6-inch putty knife and a 4-inch wide piece of plexiglass for scraping large surfaces, a 1-inch putty knife for cleaning the prop and the shaft, as well as tighter areas. A plastic putty knife is less likely to scrape the bronze propeller, but will wear away with use. We have to replace it every 3 or 4 cleanings. And then a flat screwdriver to get inside through hulls. Some boats also find that an old carpet scrap and a small wire brush are helpful. Boats with a blade of paint generally substitute a soft rag or a brush for the large scrapers. Now, a suction cup handle to keep you in one place is useful when you're cleaning a small, fussy area, such as the propeller, but they're not absolutely necessary. They're less useful when cleaning large areas of the hull and keel. Now tie about 3 feet of light line to each of the tools and the handle for the suction cup. You'll tie the other end of each around your wrist before getting into the water with it. That way when, and that's a when, not an if, you drop it, you'll be able to easily retrieve the item. While it's a nuisance to retrieve a tool when you're anchored in 10 feet of water over white sand with good visibility, it becomes nearly impossible if the water's murky, deep, or the bottom dark and soft. A big item to plan for. How will you get back aboard? A boarding ladder needs to reach at least 1, preferably 2, steps below the water for most of us to use it. Alternatively, you may be able to get into your dinghy and then aboard your boat. This was our single biggest problem in our first bottom cleaning expedition. We put the boarding ladder over, then both jumped in. The dinghy was on deck, stowed for passage. It was only after we'd worked on the bottom for an hour that we discovered that the bottom step of the ladder was an inch above the water. Feeling stupid, we swam to a nearby boat and asked if we could not only come aboard using their swim platform, but also get a ride to our boat. A new ladder suddenly became our number 1 must-buy item. The next thing is, what should you be wearing? And it's not as frivolous a question as it really sounds. You want to cover as much of your skin as possible. Otherwise, every time you brush against an unclean area of the hull, you'll be cut by any barnacles there. And because of those barnacles, you really don't want to wear your brand new wetsuit and possibly slice it to ribbons. A blade of paint is also likely to get all over whatever you wear. On that same ill-fated first attempt at cleaning our prop, Dave and I wore nothing but our swimsuits. Our legs, arms, and shoulders were covered with cuts from each time we'd hit against the boat. Worst were our hands. Since we didn't have a handle, we kept grabbing the barnacle-encrusted prop to keep us in place. That's not a good idea without gloves. If the weather is warm, an old lycra dive skin or a loose pair of pants and a long-sleeve t-shirt will work. Consider it basically sacrificial clothing. If it's colder, wear your wetsuit, but put your sacrificial clothing over it. We like to wear a lycra dive hood to keep stuff we've scraped off the hull out of our hair and ears. Cheap jersey gloves work well to protect your hands. Okay, so now you're finally ready to just jump in and give her a scrub, right? Almost. Pick a time when there's slack current and little wave or swell action. If there's any current, or it's likely to increase before the job is done, tie off a safety line to the stern to grab onto if you can't get back to the ladder. Now, most of us aren't used to doing a lot of activity underwater. Don't overtire yourself or allow yourself to get chilled. Even really hot 90-degree water is cooler than your body temperature, and you will get chilled over time. Break the job into shorter sessions spread over several days. This is even more true if you're free diving. Set a time limit and stick to it. Generally, working 10 to 15 minutes free diving, but doing a little bit every day, works best. Now, what about the actual cleaning? Okay, we start by using the wide scrapers. Dave likes a piece of plexiglass and I a 6-inch metal putty knife. We're not trying to do a perfect job at this point. Just get the big areas done. Some cruisers who have more soft growth than barnacles begin by rubbing a carpet scrap over the hull to get the soft growth off, then go back with a putty knife to get the barnacles. Once an area is free of most of the growth, we go back with a 1-inch plastic putty knife and get the picky little parts, such as around transducers and through hulls. If working on one area for a while, it might be helpful to use a suction handle to hold yourself in place. Now, regardless of the type of paint, if you start near the water line and work down, you'll be less likely to scrape your head or shoulders on barnacles as you ascend. Now, for some reason, barnacles seem to really like to grow up inside through hulls and have to be scraped out with a screwdriver. It has to be done carefully so that you don't chip your bottom paint off the through hull. The propeller and rudder take more time and attention. There are plenty of hard-to-reach surfaces. We use plastic putty knives on the prop to avoid scratching the bronze, and also because the plastic flexes some and conforms better to the shape of the prop blades. Other cruisers, citing the heavier growth on the prop, go ahead and use a metal putty knife. In either case, a 1-inch width is best. For really tight areas, a small wire brush, kind of like the size of a toothbrush, can work well. Now be sure to thoroughly clean the little openings between the rudder and the skeg or the keel, and any other areas where one surface moves against each other. The hinge areas of the rudder assembly and a feathering prop if you have one. The cleaner you keep these areas, the freer the parts will move. And any barnacles caught between the two moving surfaces will grind away at them, requiring expensive repairs. Now while you're working on the prop, grasp the shaft and see if there's any play in it. If there's more than 1/16 inch, it's time to think about replacing the cutlass bearing, your next haul out. And also check to make sure that there's no fishing line caught around the shaft. If there is, you're likely to have to cut it away with a knife. Removing a line may disturb the packing around the shaft. Once back aboard, be sure to check the packing gland for drips and tighten it if necessary. And finally, check all your zincs. Any that are more than half gone should be replaced. A little cotton ditty bag is useful for carrying the zinc and the tools so that nothing gets lost. But just in case, be sure you have spares of whatever bolts and nuts you use to hold your zincs on. Once back aboard, rinse all your tools and dive gear off with fresh water and spray any metal surfaces with WD-40, Bow Shield, or similar protectant. Okay, you're done. Enjoy that extra half knot or more of speed on your next trip. Thanks for listening to the Boat Galley Podcast. Hope you enjoyed today's show. Be sure to subscribe so that you never miss a podcast. And we love it when you tell your friends.